Hello, sei Charata. So today we're going to talk about how the lack of organization can diminish our focus. Specifically, let's explore some ways to simplify life. Imagine looking for a screwdriver or a duct tape, then you can't find it. And perhaps you are in the middle of this quest to find it, and then you go, oh, some old photos, and then you begin to delight in the memories, looking through those old photos. Well, if the idea was to find that screwdriver, there is something a little bit wrong here, don't you agree? Stop and think about how much time you would free up in your life if you were a more organized person by not wasting time looking for things, because you already know what they are. If you keep complaining that you are in a rush, that you don't have time, maybe this is a good time to actually clean up and make room in your life. I'm talking about this because a lot of people got in touch with me and they're saying that they're having a hard time focusing. Well, as we start to investigate the details, we can realize that the problem lies not in the lack of focus, but rather in the lack of organization. The disorganization of the environment that you walk in or where you live is often the real reason you can't focus. Organization begins with filtering of what should be saved. Do you know what organization is? It's very common to think of organization as moving things from one place to another based on a certain criteria. We are going to think about it in a different way. Let's talk about organizing more deeply. Instead of just moving items from one place to another, we also have to stop and ask ourselves, does that item really belong? Does it deserve to be part of our life? The idea here is to take a step back and then see if this item should be moved or simply discarded. And to do this, we have to exercise our creativity. Stop for a moment, look around, and then you examine your environment and in your mind, imagine the ideal environment for you and how would it look like. Try to visualize in detail how this environment would be so much more enjoyable and how you could feel so much better in this place. Be sure to do this exercise. It's crucial for us to move forward together. Okay? Accumulating things does not bring happiness. It is very important to internalize this fact. Accumulating objects is not the way to happiness. Every item we acquire and we keep close by should have a purpose. You have probably heard this famous phrase, less is more, right? So the fact is, accumulating objects, always seeking to have more and more, is an endless path, and it will only increase the complexity of our lives unnecessarily. When you organize your environment, think about it. Think about the purpose of each particular item. What need is this particular item fulfilling in your life? Ask yourself, is this thing bringing benefits, or is it just consuming space and requiring maintenance? Does it increase the level of complexity and clutter in my life? What is behind this question, you may ask? It is how we train ourselves to find the purpose of our things. Marie Kondo has a very similar rationale. She says you have to evaluate every single item and see if it brings you joy. Understand that organization is also a type of skill, and it is a skill that we can and we should learn. So let's begin this training with the easiest, and then we move on to the more complex things. In this way, you can develop your ability to find the purpose of each item. Practice emotional detachment. Begin by detaching yourself from objects that you don't use. So let's start with clothes, because it's quite easy to evaluate whether they are being used or not, and you can really identify which clothes you wear often and which ones are no longer good for you. You can spot the one that you don't like anymore or the ones that are out of fashion. Try on each piece of clothing and look at yourself in the mirror. See if it makes sense to keep it or not. And once you get more skill in evaluating the usefulness of your clothes, you can, for example, move on to the kitchen and evaluate which items or which ingredients are already past their prime or that you don't like anymore, or which utensils are not so useful, you never use. And after those initial steps, you can begin to organize things that demand more reflection. For example, books and documents and other objects that are scattered around your house. And as you gain mastery of these importance classifications with the physical objects, you can also go to organize your digital files. You can bring new order to the way you store your ideas and your information and your memories. Be prepared to deal with the pain of loss. One of the reasons we have trouble discarding items is our lack of emotional preparedness to deal with those emotions of loss and change. Those clothes that no longer fit might trigger a memory that we want to keep around for some reason. That book that we started reading but we lost interest, it will stay in the shelf because we invested in it and we don't want to move forward. And that cooking ingredient that we didn't really like, it will continue to sit in the cupboard because we hope one day we may learn a new recipe and use it well. And all of this is a way of thinking with its focus on failure, loss, money invested, fear. Instead of that, we can shift our focus to the space that we're going to gain. We can reduce the complexity of life by eliminating a large number of items and things in our homes. We can also focus on the lessons that we learn about ourselves when we realize that that outfit is no longer flattering, that book, come on, it was not so interesting, and we didn't particularly like that spice or ingredient. Keeping our minds open for future experiences will help us to build the emotional strength and also to let it go. Let go of the things that are only consuming space and gathering dust in our home. Too often, organizing by moving things around will not help much. We can even put more furniture and more boxes to store more objects, but that doesn't really help us either. Taking a step back and seeing the purpose of having each particular item is more important than just moving it in different places. Detachment is key. It is also important to remember that efforts, housekeeping, and learning to keep things in their place, frequently tidying up our living and working space, all this will be in vain. Because no matter how you organize things, everything will be a big mess again if you are dealing with too many objects. Thinking about it, I wrote a mini ebook that you can download now and read in just 7 minutes. It is short and goes straight to the point. You can go to this link here on the screen, arata.se/focus and organization.